Selfie all focus so far. Kha'Zix has been removed from the picture. Jankos has played that a bunch, but he's also been on Elise a lot. Lucian being taken away. Is that going to be a Caitlyn first pick for Roccat again?
Well, Lulu is still open. I actually think SUPA should ban Lulu away. Don't want to risk either Overpower or Sasasop in the top lane playing this Lulu here. And in case they're banned away, we actually will see high chance of a Caitlyn or a Ryze, of course, because we saw Overpower play Ryze in the mid lane, doing really, really well, and they won this one. And another champion they're taking away from Selfie here. If you look at the things he had,
that's all three of them.
He's only played Kayle now, which is left open, and his laning phase on Kayle against Alex was not pretty.
We'll see whether he decides to rotate away from anything else on that one. Ryze, the first pick, and has a relative success so far in the European LCS, not been the blowing me away so far. Been a number of choices with the picks. What do we think? Are they going to go for that bottom lane pairing? Are they going to take Caitlyn away from Sullivan?
They could definitely take Caitlyn away here, but Roccat would have been aware of this, so they clearly have something ready for Celavar, so it's not just the end of the world if Caitlyn gets picked over here by Super Hot Crew. Otherwise they would have left the Lucian open, just have both AD carries up. But let's see actually what Super Hot Crew decide. Evelynn is definitely open and a choice.
And also remember the game that Roccat had where they banned away, what, 3 AD carries,
yeah,
and actually thought that maybe was Varus, I think they went for in that game. Caitlyn has been stolen away, and there is Impaler on Evelynn.
So Super Hot Crew decides to take away Caitlyn. Lucian Caitlyn are the two picks for Celavar down here in the bottom lane. When they've been gone, been banned away, he's falling back to Varus, Ezreal. We've seen him on Vayne, I believe, once as well. So we need to see what he decides to pick here. Again, clearly Roccat knew there was a high chance of Caitlyn being picked away, so they must have something prepared.
Well, I mean, if you look at Super Hot Crew, they've completely tried to counter A, the AD carry, and B, Jankos in the jungle. They've taken away Kha'Zix, which he's been playing a lot late, and Evelynn generally is his fallback champion, so
yeah,
trying to do the same. They're countering each other right now. Pretty much intense picks and bans, which is probably why you're seeing a lot of discussion from both these teams.
Elise and Lee Sin is both open for Jankos here, so it's not the end of the world for him. Both of them will do really well early on. But Evelynn, of course, we always talk about how annoying she is to play against, because again, you don't have vision of her. You need to ward deep inside the jungle at the camp, spot her out, or you need to have some good ping wards, but there's always a risk of people clearing them out. So Evelynn pick here for Impaler will mean a lot of early game pressure from Super Hot Crew, which we know they love now with this new playstyle.
There is the Thresh for Vanda, and will more importantly be Xaxus on Renekton, the champion that he played. He pretty much bossed at the start, the opening few weeks when Roccat really exploded onto the scene.
Yeah, Renekton was one of the key picks, and the whole early aggression style from Roccat. Always having Xaxus here, pushing in his lane, then Jankos would walk up and they would dive, or Overpower would roam up and they would dive on to whoever he's against in the top lane, get a kill, get the turret, and then continue rolling around the map. They could be doing the same here. Obviously, they already shown now it's going to be Ryze mid lane, so it means for Super Hot Crew to have some extra time to try and think, what do we want to play against this Ryze?
It means that Maima's going to be forced on towards Shyvana, which generally means that Xaxus should be winning out that lane early on. And we talked about how Roccat have that problem of winning the early game. Karma also getting locked in. A champion that's definitely rose to prominence. Was played a lot in the early days of the European LCS, but fell away and now is back.
Is back up here, and the Karma pick itself, it's just because teams have realized, as they realized in Korea with Sivir being so popular, European teams have realized how good movement speed is, how strong it is to have this extra utility on your team to roam around and rotate on the map, and that's where Karma comes in. Also, you have one of the best laning phases when it comes to support. So much high base damage and so much early game pressure. Paired it with a Caitlyn, you have the recipe for a lane that needs to win and will get a turret down early as long as they play it properly. You could even see Roccat decide to lane swap away from them.
Waiting for Roccat to make their final choice. There's a big discussion going on here. Celavar, is he going to be sticking to Jinx? It will be. We did see Volibear highlighted for a while, but it looks like it will be Lee Sin in the jungle.
So Roccat are getting here a lot of their comfort picks actually. Renekton top lane, Overpower, he loves to play Ryze, been spamming it a lot also on solo queue. Obviously Thresh on 2, Vandalife here, and Lee Sin, one of the junglers that Jankos used early in the season as well, with a lot of success, always so good on his early ganks here. So a lot of good picks for Roccat, a lot of mixed as well. They have early game power with Renekton and Lee Sin, they have late game power with Ryze and Jinx. wave clear wise, it's not ideal. They actually have to use the ultimate from Rise to clear the waves easily enough, unless we see some static shifts onto Jinx to help it out a little bit. So wave clear, not the strongest, but overall team fight synergy is very, very good for them.
I was hoping and praying for the Fizz in the mid lane, but it may well be Orianna that Selfie is going to choose in that mid lane. We'll see whether he sticks with it at the moment. It is currently highlighted over. 12 seconds to go on this one. Not going with, again, the assassins that he's known for.
There's simply, I actually think only Yasuo and LeBlanc are the two he wants to play. That's why teams ban them away. Orianna pick, however, against Ryze, I actually like it because it's easy for you to predict where Ryze is going because he doesn't have any jumps. He needs to run up. You know he runs towards the target. You want to start doing do his damage onto this target. So it's easy to predict where he's going with the ball from Orianna and then land the ultimate on him in team fights, in laning phase. So that's why I like this Orianna pick. And also, farm-wise, he should be able to get some good Pokemon to Ryze early and also stay fairly safe with his own shield here. Still, going into late game, Ryze is an absolute monster, but Orianna is not a bad pick either going late game. And that's the thing with Super Hot Crew's combo here. Very late game focused. Evelynn strong in the late game. Shyvana will outscale Renekton. Very strong in the late game. Orianna good in the late game. Caitlyn very good in the late game. Karma good all around the game. Good utility here. So Super Hot Crew want to go to the late game where Roccat is a bit of everything. They don't want to put everything in early game or everything in late game.
Well, they've got two aggressive junglers with Lee Sin and Evelynn as well. Could be exciting start to this game. The players have selected their champion, and while the game is loading, let's take a moment to check your votes. With 78% have voted to Roccat lead Super Hot Crew in this one.
Well, Roccat have looked better in the last few weeks. They've improved their early game. In general, just fixed some of their mistakes and also their pick and ban phase. We don't see Lulu or LeBlanc top anymore from Sasus falling back on these tanks in the top lane, which pretty much all the teams are doing. Every single team in Europe who tried to play AP top lanes stopped doing it now and just falling back to Renekton, Shyvana, all these champions that really excels in this meta.
Well, Super Week is not really where you try things out. This is where you win games, and that's absolutely what both these teams are looking to do. Of course, Roccat with that big Polish fan base, they are really the Polish dominators in the scene so far. Of course, Meet Your Makers used to be in them. They're now known as Mouse Sports. Of course, going through the Challenger scene. They're going to be in towards the Challenger playoffs, which will be happening in a week's time, I believe, or 2 weeks' time. But at the moment, Roccat, they are the ones that are supporting and representing the rest of Poland. Meanwhile, Super Hot Crew, you know, this is a team that just came into this LCS so early on in the tournament, and they literally had 2 days before the European LCS got underway. Crazy, crazy stuff for them. So we're expecting to see them maybe rise to prominence. They have still got a shot at getting towards that 6th spot, but I believe if they go 4-0, I think it was that Quickshot was mentioning, we had to try and make it. There's a lot of math that could happen. There's a lot of games that could happen, you know, wins, losses for any teams will change things. But if they were to go 4-0, they really are the darlings of the LCS that could maybe throw a spanner in the works for everyone. You know, there's even a crazy possibility that if they went 4-0 and Roccat did well and Gambit went 1-3, Gambit can end up 7th.
Yeah.
It's crazy. There's so many things, so many possibilities that can happen. Don't expect it to happen, but you never know. Just look at last summer. I wasn't expecting a 4-way tie until Fnatic went and beat Gambit after going 0-4 in Super Week. They went and won the only one game they had to do. They
Nobody expected it.
And threw a whole monkey wrench into the works. And even yourself, you got pulled into that one. It was a crazy, horrible playoff situation for everyone involved.
It was one of the worst things, actually, because you sit there as a team, you just played your games, you're like, there we go, we got the games come, we got the playoffs, we're done. And then you watch the last game, and then the referees walk in like, yeah, you're going to have to stay for like 5 hours more. Yeah. We're going to need a lot of games. You're like, oh, really?
I think we had 6 more games, didn't we?
I believe
After playing 6 in a day, we had 6 more games. That could actually happen on Thursday. I'm just saying, it could be a long one. And everyone involved is so excited for it.
Well, one thing we can say for sure, the teams who experienced this tiebreaker before, Gambit, Fnatic, Alliance, I would say, with at least some of their members, they've tried it now. They know how to keep the focus going, what to do in between this waiting time, where some of the newer teams coming in can be more, oh, what's actually happening, lose some focus, and can be harder for them to get ready for the match itself if you play at like 2 in the night. So going into tiebreaker-wise, we need to see how well the new teams can actually perform and how strong the mental strength are.
Well, and it's interesting, you talk about the mental strength, you just think back to EG, they actually had fun with it. Yeah. They switched actually Frog and Crepo round. And yet
exactly.
Crepo won with a Nivea. He did brilliantly with a Nivea. He completely mind-gamed Gambit, and they did really well.
And that's EG as a team. It was always a team you looked up to and said, you know what, these guys have been in the scene for so long, they know how to do this.
They've definitely had some long pauses before.
That too. I mean, EG is probably the perfect team for pauses and tiebreakers because they're used to this. Gambit have tried it before, of course. Fnatic tried it before. These teams will have the advantage when it comes to the focus going into this tiebreaker. But also, we can never count out some of the newer teams because we've seen during this European LCS, everyone will beat everyone. I haven't heard a single person say, I'm going into this game and I know we will win. Everyone's like, well, we might be favorites. However, last week or 2 weeks ago we played them and they just stomped us, so I'm not sure what's actually going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you only need to really look at the head-to-heads of all the teams, and you see that obviously, you mentioned, everybody can beat everyone. We had Super Hot Crew, they've taken 2 games off Gambit themselves, which is crazy in itself. Whereas you look at, say, the North American LCS, you've got obviously TSM and Cloud9 at the top there. We're, what, 20 wins, 5 losses or something there? 20 wins, 4 losses, sorry, because there's 4 games to play. They're also going to, of course, be playing out on Friday, Saturday, Sunday themselves. Could have a tiebreaker because they're both doing very well at the top. But they, as you look at the North American League, there's clearly, the favorites and the lower teams. Whereas in Europe, we just don't know what's going to happen in these games sometimes.
And the European teams are just so close with everything, and we often see the same kind of play styles for a lot of teams. That's also why the games are always so close. And then it's actually hard to say what is best for a league? Having some dominant teams or having all teams being able to beat each other? Like, which one will make the strongest
One
league?
definitely creates a big fan base and a big fan following.
Yeah.
The other one, I mean, even looking at the Worlds, when we went in there, Europe was basically completely undermined because everyone was thinking they did bad at All-Stars. Well, in fairness, the team hadn't practiced too much for that one. I remember speaking to them. So everybody immediately judged the European teams. Well, they're all beating each other. They're obviously lower standard. They went in there and did fantastic and dominated. So it just shows that the European level is high, but everybody is high, it seems, when they get in the LCS.
Everyone is just able, also because all these teams, of course, practice with each other. So they get to see all the good things, all the bad things. And everyone here in Europe, when it comes to playstyle, we don't have like this one guy where we say, this guy is the best jungler in Europe. Nobody's even close to him. Yes, Diamond is one of the best junglers, but it's not like we're saying, oh, he's just way better than all the other junglers we have in Europe here. We have a lot of players being close to each other. We have a lot of players where we always talk about, oh, who's actually the best? And we can never really point it out. And also why the teams are so close, because we don't have these like clear stars.
And it's also why, we looked at the records in the pre-show. Obviously, North America hold pretty much most of them because they have those dominant teams, whereas there's not any, there's AD carriers that have gone crazy, but there's not any AD carriers that are almost safe from teams. They're going to go to I don't know, I'm trying to think of a lower team without being disparaging in North America. I don't want to blame the team, but anyway, if TSM or Cloud9 were to face one of those teams in the lower area, they're already 3-0. Generally, their AD carries going in going, let's see how many kills I can get today, rather than thinking this is going to be a tough lane phase.
It's true. It is the perfect point, and we just need to see when it comes.
More importantly, it gives confidence. That's what I'm getting towards.
That's true.
We talked about how Fnatic, they were confident coming into that, and they're one of the teams that only need confidence to go and win, and that's exactly what they've done against Alliance. And Trevor mentioned it in the interview with Cyanide, saying, now that you've got a confident win over Alliance, are you going to go on and win this? Because they're one of the teams of confidence, and if you're going into a game really confident in your own ability, the fact that we can win this pair and we can do this matchup, 2 mid laners going against each other. If one thinks he's clearly better than the other and dominates him, he's going to know, and he's going to know, this game, guys, I've got it in the bag, I'm carrying it.
100%, and it's generally going for every single pro player. Doesn't even matter if you're on Millennium. If you beat Gambit one day, going into the game next day, you're going to be like, we don't even care about our place in the standings. We can actually win this game because we just beat Gambit yesterday. And it's also why we see these winning streaks in Europe pretty much throughout the entire season. There's been winning streaks.
So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. There's round of applause does mean, of course, the game was finally going. We had a quick remake, by the way. There was a room page bug, I believe it was. I'm not too sure which player it was for, but nevertheless, we are back in the action. Impaler maybe looking at sneaking in towards that death bush. We'll get spotted if he walks straight in towards Yankos.
So looking in at both compositions, Super Hard Crew, as we said, in the Champs League. It's a while ago now, so we can just repeat it. A lot of wave clear. Very good scaling into the late game. Rocket's side, very little amount of actual wave clear unless they want to use the ultimate from Overpower to clear the wave here. But then they have very, very strong pairing with Renekton and Lee Sin early game to set something up to try and shut down Mimo up here in the top lane. Ryze, of course, scaling into the late game. Jinx scaling into the late game really well. But Renekton and Lee Sin will fall off compared to Evelynn and Shyvana over here. So we're going to see an early game where Roccat can put a lot of focus either on the top lane to try and 100% shut down Shyvana, or to say we know we're going to win this top lane, so Jankos will focus elsewhere to try and help our lanes.
Well, sounds like it's going to be a switch around possibly for Roccat here. Both teams, as you mentioned, are doing it. Whether neither team really had vision of one another.
Nope.
They just simply did this blind, but I think they maybe were expecting it.
Yeah, SUPA crew is saying there's a high chance Roccat will swap this one here, so we're actually going to go up here. Will they actually walk into their face?
Double counter invade, both going in. It's actually Jankos that takes a lot of damage. Mixer gets hooked up, but they don't fancy following that one. And both teams had similar ideas of a late invade in towards their buffs, and both will step away.
And this is again the thing here, when you don't have any vision in the early game, we see a lot of these lane swaps with a late invade, because it's safe, you would normally say. If the bot lane from SUPA crew were down in the bottom area, they could walk in with 3 members from Roccat, take the red buff, and then go up top lane. But simply because SUPA crew had the same idea, they were up here, getting some good damage onto Jankos, who's actually fairly low now in the jungle.
Good burst on towards Sullivan there. Didn't win that trade, that's for sure. And going back towards these level 1 invades, I want to quickly mention, obviously when I was talking to Crepo back at Season 2, when this really all began, and they were talking about, you know, if one team were to invade, you have to counter it, because you can't just lay down and take it, because they're going to take a big objective away from you.
And just like we saw in the last game, Fnatic walks in, takes the blue buff from Alliance. Alliance are not in a position to respond. What happens, they end up giving over 3 buffs to Fnatic level 1 and the right lane, so Fnatic got the perfect start. This time around, both teams same idea. Want to go in to the separate buffs here, want to invade, find each other, and now SUPA crew got the lane matchup they want here, with both Karma and Caitlyn poking away onto this Jinx and this Thresh. Down the bottom lane, however, it's going to be in favor of Roccat.
Yeah, the real challenge begins for the Roccat duo lane, Sullivan and Vander. They have played very well, as you mentioned, in the early phases, but Sullivan, is he going to have to step up his game here? Because Mr. Rales is definitely one of the top AD carries in Europe, no doubt about that. However, he's alongside Mixer, who himself is chasing a record of his own. I'm not too sure it's a record to be proud of, because it is most deaths in the European LCS. But nevertheless, Mr. Rales, I don't recall dying last week either. I think he pretty much stayed immortal.
I believe Mr. Rales is one of the players in the league with the least amount of deaths, and then of course paired with the guy with the most amount of deaths in both Eon and NA, if I'm not 100% wrong. Might actually be Nintendo Dude being #1 in NA and then Mixer coming in a second here, but still, they have very different play styles. Mixer all in, Mr. Rales playing safe, staying back, keeping a good position.
Well, this mid lane, we didn't get a chance to look at it. Of course, boot start for Overpower once again on Ryze, making sure he can keep himself mobile, get in, get out, get those basic attacks on. That's all he's looking to do right now, and then he's going to be looking to stack that tier up. Jankos, he's rotated round. He's looking to maybe help out this top lane. We expect to see the lantern thrown out, but Vander didn't really manage to land what he wanted. They're going to go for Mr. Rales. They do land the Sonic Wave. They get a good bit of damage down, but the death sentence doesn't come down. Ignite was used.
Yeah, so they do actually force the flash away here, so they got something from it, but Vander actually flashed in, and then he played the wrong way onto Mixer, so he didn't get him in towards him. Mixer then flashed away too, so a lot of summoners used in favor of Roccat, however, because they got both here, and Jankos then can return up here, try and set up another gank with the Lantern from Vander, and try and get a hook onto SUPA Hot Crew.
Jankos is going to try and counter around, of course. Can he go back around? Is he going to loop back around towards that top? He's going to ward it out. No, he's going to loop around and have a go towards Selfie. Selfie himself spots it early enough and heads down south there. Simply spotted by, I think it was actually his tower that gave him his vision.
But look here, very smart position by Selfie, because he saw, of course, Jankos up in the top lane. He knew he would be, or there was a high chance he would be in this top area. That's why he positioned himself all the way on the opposite side of the lane. So if he spots him there, he could run out and be safe.
As a player, how do you approach this bottom lane matchup? You know going into it, you're going to have 9 levels where basically you are going to be bullied by Renekton. I'm talking about Mime here, of course, who you actually have played in a team with.
Well, you pray you're not going to get dived by the enemy jungler, because one-on-one, Mima should be able to hold his own and get some farm here. And for him actually going into this laning phase, his only mindset is going to be, I am not going to die. I'm not going to give him a kill here. As long as I can just get some farm, I will I will outscale him. I will be able to go into the late game and then I will win the duel. So that's why you see him stay all the way back here. You even see him warding early because he's saying to himself, if Jankos is here, they can kill me and deny me this big wave, which is really what I need to keep up in XP and at least try and keep somewhat up in farm.
Yeah, you can see, like you say, he warded that tri-bush, stayed very passively away and was very delicately approaching those minions to make sure he didn't get caught out by Xaxus with any of those moves, maybe slice and dice and stun him in there. Instead, this mid laner, well, Selfie's going to have that bonus with his basic attacks, putting pressure on towards Overpower, trying to force him away. He has got the advantage in terms of CS so far, just trying to keep that poke on, but really hasn't pulled the trigger just yet. They have both hit ultis though.
Yeah, we have to remember the damage from Ryze, especially when he's starting boots, is very, very low. There's no mana crystal earned on to give him some extra damage, so with the shield and also the auto text of course from Selfie, he will be having, or he does have more damage, and that's why he's actually just getting this slight CS lead, but Overpower still doing a good job keeping up in farm and scaling on. Once he actually recalls, get his tier, and start stacking it up, he will be fine.
What would help out Mime down the bot lane is if he could get a gank from Impaler, but it seems that Xaxus is going to back away from this one. Impaler will sneak on through.
Might just push it out.
Going to simply, like you say, be pushing out that farm. Mime is going to go back and buy in a moment. Yeah, they're just going to shove the way.
It's also a very hard gank to pull off when you're not level 6. Now he actually got the level 6 onto Evelyn here, but it's a hard gank to pull off because of the lack of CC and the very good mobility from Renekton. So he wanted to push it out fast, get Mime to recall, get some items, return down to the lane. Top lane wise, SUPA still winning out on this due to the fact their dual lane is doing so well.
Oh, Jankos thought about starting the red off, did manage to land the Sonic Wave on it, but has to safeguard to a ward in the pit there because, well, Selfie was tracking him, as were the top lane pairing of Mr. Raleigh and Mixer.
Look at this. Both Impaler and Selfie picked up pink wards. So they want to set up some early vision control here. Either we're going to see some defensive wards. Actually, this one is going to be spotted out if he puts the pink here. So he clears it now, but of course Roccat will know there's a pink. They can walk down and clear it themselves. So he doesn't actually get all the vision he wanted from it.
Making sure he gets something. And Super Hot Crew now have themselves a BF sword on Mr. Raleigh very early on. That's all he could afford. He has just gone for that one straight item. Vampiric Scepter and a second Doran's Blade for Selva though, in response to that one. And actually CS is staying fairly even. We do see the top golems actually going away. Super Hot Crew making sure they take that away from Impaler. Blue buff was given across to Selfie.
There's a very big wave coming towards Super Hot Crew in the top lane though, so they will pull ahead once again. The good thing Roccat is doing is actually keeping them away from the turret. It's still very healthy, so as long as they can keep going here, just continue farming, it's fine.
Well, speaking of farming, Mime has just returned back to that bottom lane. He's got himself a rather large deficit, as you would expect, because Xaxus managed to shove that wave back in, whereas Mime needed the help of Impaler to come and do it for him. Went for the Ninja Tabby early on the boot, so just making sure he's got the movement to escape any ganks that Jankos may try and provide. Impaler coming in towards Van there. Holds himself just off the range. There is a ward in that bush. It is only a standard ward though, so it won't spot Impaler if he sneaks into it.
I do like this choice though from Mime actually. Gonna take 10% less damage from the auto attacks from both Xaxus, Jankos if he goes in there, and of course Selvar. So it's a good pickup from him early on against all this physical, because he's not expecting to fight against Ryze in the next many minutes.
Mr. Arlen's keeping that farm, as you predicted, going very nicely. And Impaler's just stepped aside, take himself some farm of his own. He's going to keep on going, and both these junglers, they've been around, they've been looking for ganks, they've been offering the support, but as of yet no openings have shown themselves. And we talked about Overpower last week, how he goes for this build. Oh, I tell a lie, we're going to go for Vanda. He does manage to land the hook. Good! Death sentence, they're going to use the rocket actually on Impaler. Teleport comes in, Overpower catching on towards Impaler, but there's just not enough damage to turn this one around. Jankos was also in the river, keeping Selfie away from that fight. Quick engage, but both managing to back away. Really good chompers from Selva though in that fight.
Yeah, very good chompers, stopping Super Hot Crew from engaging on, and Mime now want to clear out this wave using his ultimate. Talking about Overpower and his build, I actually dislike the fact he rushes his Catalyst here, because he's going to delay his tier, which means he's going to delay his own power spike. It's going to take him longer to actually stack it up, and I don't believe it's worth it, because in this laning phase between Selfie, they've just been farming back and forth. It's not like he's been heavily ganked or there's been a lot of aggression from Selfie here, so I would have loved to see a tier so he could get his stacking early and be stronger faster.
Yeah, zero pressure, and now that he hasn't got it, we're into 10 minutes. If he goes back and gets it now, you're going to be looking at 30 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
going to be a long
It's just
time.
longer and longer before you can get it fully stacked, which is your big power spike. When also you can upgrade it, get the shield, of course, and that's where Rise become this very, very hard to kill monster.
Well, we'll see how it works out for them. You did mention that the Super Hot Crew's team actually scales better in the late game, which is seems a little wide. He is going to back off now. I expect that will be the tier he's going to pick up ASAP as soon as he goes back. Tier as they got us. Yes, there we go. So it's actually bought time for Super Hot Crew to move in because he's now left that gap in there. We are going to see 3 members of Super Hot Crew taking away the first dragon.
Yeah, good call here. Timing it well with the recalls from, of course, Overpower to say, you know what, there's only going to be 2 members at max to go for it, and with 3 members we can easily take it. So good early dragon. Up here in this top lane though, Jankos is staying around. He want to try and set something up really, really badly. There is splash though on Mr. Rales, but nothing on Mixer. If the hook lands from Vanda onto him, he will be the target.
He's also got the barrier as well, as you mentioned. They're going to be sticking around the turret. It will have to be a dive. The slow doesn't land. Will the death sentence? It's going to be Mixer they're going to focus on. He has got the most deaths in the LCS. And he's going to be first blood here once again as Roccat get a kill. Jankos in trouble. There's going to be ace in the hole. Sullivan did a good job of blocking that one off. They are going to keep chasing this one. Impaler's coming around in support. They're going to know that. They're going to realize Mr. Raleigh is being aggressive here. There is a reason for it.
But man, beautiful play by Jankos, flashing and kicking back here, but Selva staying up too far.
Why did he stay around? He's got the barrier, he takes the lantern.
It was bait, he was baiting.
Manages to bait that one out. He did have to burn the barrier though to save the day.
That's true, not entirely worth it for him to stay, but again, this dive up here, Jankos going in, instantly flash kicking Mixer into the rest of them and just getting the first blood here. It's a good move, and he really puts a lot of focus on making sure this bot lane can actually perform against this dual lane. It's a little bit of thing you actually mentioned before the game, how the Roccat dual lane not been the best lately. So with this help from Jankos, they have been able to actually keep fairly well up in farm.
But this is the first pressure the Super Hot Crew have been able to apply on that tower, and it's really doing it work. They should be able to take this one down before Jankos gets up here, and they will. So first tower of the game goes to Super Hot Crew, a good counter to that gank in top.
Very good counter, and of course Impaler moving there instantly as he saw something happening, so he could push it down, get the turret here. Blue buff, however, should be going over to Overpower with the tier, stacking it up now. It's gonna be a matter of time for him before he hits his real power spike.
Well, we do see a Bloodthirster being completed and Boots being picked up by Mr. Rales. He's going to rotate around. Are they going to go down to the back, or are they going to hold on this top turret? They are going to rotate bottom, and that is going to leave this top turret exposed. Good enough flame from Mixer, going to keep that wave cleared. We do need to see Mima making his move up towards his top lane very quickly though, which is why we're seeing Mixer just hanging around, and he may well stick around too long.
Yeah, he's actually backing off now as he spotted Vanda going very aggressively into ward, so he knew something could happen. There should be a turret here now for Roccat, but down in the bottom lane here, actually, Super Hot Crew won't really be able to respond to anything. But they're waiting for Overpower to move for Sasus, but he's also coming there. This could go wrong for Super Hot Crew.
Sasus they are going to see, but it's Overpower they're focusing on. There's the Ignite. They pulled the Shockwave. Jankos kicks him back in towards Sasus, and Selfie is going to go down from this one. They may catch on towards Impaler as well. Hasn't got the stun available, but it was a good counter from Roccat. Jankos in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, great counter play from Roccat. The bottom lane was pushed all the way up, so Sasus, he saw his time to actually roam up towards the mid lane, and then baiting out from Overpower, Jankos came in, kicked him into the face of Renekton, into a stun, instant dead.
And Roccat making use of it. They knew the position of the jungler, and they knew they could keep the pressure on this top turret. They're going to see Dragon Descent coming in there. Here comes Impaler, gets his ultimate down on both of them. They're going to try and turn it. Teleport comes in from Overpower. He's onto the turret. It's a good hook. Impaler's going to run for his life now. It will be a 1-for-1 trade. But Super Hot Crew are really being pressured by Roccat here.
Yeah, Roccat making plays everywhere here. The reason they stayed because they knew they had the teleport. Even though he actually teleported inside the turret, he joined in from Overpower's side. Selfie though actually decides to run down the mid lane instead of staying up here to defend. It could be a turret for Roccat.
This is almost certainly a turret for Roccat. Jinx, of course, with that burn down with a minigun. Not too sure what Selfie was thinking he could achieve. He definitely stopped that push on towards the inhibitor turret, but that was never a problem. Mime was going to respawn and deal with it, and he could have just pushed the mid.
And Selfie was even running to the top lane at first, then decided to turn around because he expected Roccat to back off. They're saying, you know what, let's just take a free turret. He could have been there and defended.
Well, it wasn't to be, and the bottom lane has been defended very well by Zazas in the meantime, so Super Hot Crew were not even able to push the bottom out while the rest of the duo laners do rotate. Blue buff's given across to Selfie. We'll see how this works, but Roccat at the moment have started to do a very good early game, which has always been something they've struggled against. In terms of CS though, if you were to argue the point, you could say Super Hot Crew won out the bottom duo pairing and of course the mid lane.
Yeah, but due to all the focus from Jankos and due to the fact that Satos and Overpower were doing fine in their solo laners alone, it meant he could just put all the focus up there and making sure that Roccat would keep up in farms. So it's just very nice early game play by Roccat as a team here, and it's also how we like to see them play, and it's actually what they've been improving on in the last few weeks. The entire early game for them are better.
Very much. In terms of objectives, it's been Roccat in a flame poking on towards Celebar, using that ace in a hole to burst him down as well. There was a bit of shielding coming out though from Vander. Vander looking at winding up the death sentence there, not going to pull the trigger. Impaler and Selfie looking towards Jankos and Overpower, and honestly, I'm not sure I'd fancy that fight anymore. I'm not too sure who would come out on top.
Jankos is definitely strong at the moment. Just with the early tenacity though, not going to do too much from him in the 2v2 fight against someone like Evelyn and Orianna. We'll be actually seeing Impaler coming down to this duel, bot lane here.
Oh, Celebar completely caught out. The leash is there, but again, another good lantern from Vander. He's going to oh, death sentence not landing. Almost point blank miss.
And look, actually the way Roccat was standing in his duel lane, they knew they couldn't get fully to the CS, so Vander waited all the way back at the turret, so he could always lantern in case something should happen, and that's why Celebar didn't have to use anything to survive.
Mid lane danger for Selfie. He's got Zazas going towards him. I wonder whether Overpower hasn't got flash available. They're not going to push it. Instead, he's going to have to go back in defense. So it's back down this mid lane. We do see Vander again taking that inner flame. Net shot on towards Celebar. It's going to keep them at bay. Jankos, they knew he was there.
And so far here, seeing some good action, but solo lane wise, we haven't actually seen anyone try and duel each other. It's just been farming both of them, both in the mid lane, obviously off in the top lane. Mimer, as expected, is behind in CS, but still keeping up fairly well. Selfie though, with a good CS lead, still, with both now, the dragon spawned, all members from both teams have moved all the way down here in this area. We could see a big team fight.
Well, Impaler's snuck himself in there. I'm pretty sure that Roccat are fairly clear on this one. Again, Lantern comes out, being pulling Celebar away. That does actually give Super Hot Crew positional advantage to try and start this dragon off. Jankos is waiting in the wings, and Elite in Steel is certainly on the cards. Instead, Mimer's going to try and run interference. Super Hot Crew, they've been clumped in here, clustered in. Perfect placement for the rocket. The Sonic Wave doesn't manage to land, and Roccat now going to try and run away from this one. Celebar's trying to kite out towards Mimer. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Super Hot Crew turning this one back on its head. It's going to be a double kill for Selfie. Mimer's going to go down. Where is he? He stands just to stay safe. Jay away, run for your life, Mimer. You cannot take on the dragon. Oh, you just said his Sunfire Cape starts off on the dragon anyway. And Zaz as well, the Overpower gets the kill. It was a great start for Super Hot Crew, but they just stuck around too long and it was a 4-for-3.
But this was actually a lot closer than it should have been. Overpower decided to run out of the fight, had to run all the way around the blue bot before he joined in. Meanwhile, his team actually noticed here in the replay, the fight starting, the ultimate from Selfie is hitting hitting a Celebar, sorry, so he's getting something from it, but not ideal from him. He actually wants Vander, good flash. Going on to him, killing Mr. Riley's instantly, so the AD carry is gone. Notice up here, on your minimap, you actually see Evelyn being chased by Overpower. Instead of him staying with his team down here to clean up these very low members, he's being kited all the way around, gives some good kills over to Super Hot Crew, then he joins in, full HP Rise, just to kill Mimer.
Yeah, Overpower just runs in the back and cleans up, gets himself a nice double kill there. It was the easiest double kill he could walk in. It literally took 2 Qs and that was it, 2 overloads. Fantastic stuff. So, Celebar trying to push this bottom lane. We saw a good rocket landing and now he's got himself the CS advantage, more importantly, over Mr. Rales, which he hasn't had the entire game. Super Hot Crew, though, they're straight back on the dragon.
They really want this dragon here, but again, Roccat is nearby except for Satos. He's running all the way down. That's what they pinged. That's why they start this dragon.
Well, Impaler's there in time. He should go for the smite. No! Jankos gets in and steals it. He's going to get Mixer down as well. There's the execute coming out. Jinx manages to get the kill. Celebar flashes out of the danger this time. Vander's taking a lot of damage from Mimer. Selfie's taking picked apart. He's got no mana. Mr. Rales gets focused down. Selfie's the next focus. They've got vision. He just needs one more shot. No! It doesn't manage to land it with a zap. Mimer's going to chase down Overpower. Should get the kill here. No! The safeguard comes out. Not quite enough from Jankos.
So Super Hot Crew started the dragon because the spotted stars was up towards this top lane here, but due to a great smite by Jankos, and then the fight turned around. Actually only 4 members from Roccat in the start, but Rise doing so much damage, followed up by the rocket from Celebar, simply means they pick up 2 kills, pick up the dragon, and wow, Roccat is looking very, very strong at the moment.
Once they get that confident play in them, they certainly can turn those team fights around. Fantastic stuff here. 9-5 currently in favor of Roccat in kills. They have that 4,000 gold advantage built up with a 3-1 towers. Let's see what they do with that power they've gained early on in this game.
And let's see how SUPA crew decides to play this one. Do they still want to fight? Or do they just want to try and stay in the lanes and defend? Because the wave clear from them is near perfect actually. With Karma, Caitlyn and Orianna, you can clear waves in multiple lanes. And of course also even Evelyn and Shyvana actually bring some wave clear to at least fast push out the lanes. So SUPA crew they have at least the possibility to extend this game by quite a long time.
And you know, all the work that Mr. Rales and Mixer put in early on has just been whittled away, because Saliva's now over 1,000 gold ahead of Mr. Rales in terms of items. You can see it's a clear Phantom Dancer.
One of the downsides about Caitlyn is once we hit this mid-game point, she's one of the weaker AD carries. She needs some items. Laning phase is very strong, late game is very strong, but the mid-game for her, Jinx will have more damage, and that's what actually we see in these fights, especially also with her ultimate. So Mr. Rales now, he just wants to continue farming. He needs the last Whisper, he needs of course the Phantom Dance or Static Shift before he even thinks about fighting again.
Making use of that Get Excite charging in. Blue buff's going to be the focus. Selfie doesn't want that stolen away. It's actually already been farmed out, I believe. I can say I'm pretty sure Selfie had it on him there. Not too sure whether it's the Spectator, but it is on him there, absolutely. It is on him, so nothing to take away from him. Instead, it is going to be Selfie clearing out that mid lane. So, Roccat, where will they focus? Looks like it could be this bottom inner turret. There is 4 members around here at the moment. Zazus is going to go and stop Mima pushing the top.
Well, with 4 members here, if they actually decide to send Zazus up here to stop him, they can try and at least either force a dive on the SUPA crew, which would be the risky part, or they can do like they're doing now here, standing in different lanes, forcing small fights from SUPA Hard Crew's side. That's why actually they're moving Jankos here, keeping Overpower in the mid lane for now, with Teleport to join in if something should happen. So if he can force Selfies to stay in the mid lane, and there's only 3 members defending here, Roccat can then go on them, get the turret, or get some kills.
Well, they may try and get some kills. Impaler's going to come around the side. Selfie is there. He gets a good slowdown. The choppers, though, are going to force a stop. Vanda's going to get caught out. The Ignite is running. Should we get him? No. Safeguard. One more tick. The Shockwave does pull in Jankos. Jankos flashes away. He's not going to get away this time. Selfie will pick himself up a kill.
And Overpower actually decided to recall instead of teleport in because they didn't want this fight. That's why they were just trying to run out here. So good engage from SUPA crew. Picking up a kill now. Stopping this push. And they actually want to go towards this turret down here.
Yeah, it's going to get them a turret. That should be a good advantage for them. Saliva has not backed away, though. Was sticking around. And now Impaler comes around, quickly throws those chompers out. The chompers have been doing a fantastic job from Saliva so far in these fights.
And they actually decide to back off here because Saliva stayed full HP, red buff. Don't want to risk fighting against him also with the likes of Vanda joining in later on here. But still, they got a kill. SUPA crew got something, but we clearly saw Roccat saying, this is our tactic. But this fight, we don't want it. That's why the mid laner with Teleport just said recall and said, I'm out, guys.
I'm out. Don't want any of that. Vanda was so close to going down as well. The safeguard from Jankos, ironically, which cost Jankos his life, was enough to save Vanda. As it stands, the AD carry of Saliva is stronger than Mr. Rales, and it's seemingly proving it in fights. We do see the Phantom Dancer now completed on Mr. Rales, though, so he should be able to keep himself out of danger. 2 deaths on Mr. Rales is something unusual in itself.
He's been the focus in teamfights. You have seen it. You see Zazus jumping in. You see Jankos jumping in towards him. They get him and then follow up by Roccat from Saliva to execute him in the end. He's been the focus for them. Selfie though, while his shockwaves have been a little bit hit or miss, he's actually still been doing a very good job farming. He's picked up Death Cap now. So he is also very strong. And of course Orianna coming into teamfights, very, very good.
And something we haven't had really a chance to focus on is top laners. They've not really been at it in the top lane, they're just farming up a storm. But Zazus, you can see with that Tiamat on him, he has got a good advantage over Mima. We are, despite the fact we're in, what, level 15 for these 2 top laners, I would still say Zazus is quite strong.
Zazus is strong, however, tanky-wise, Shyvana is going to be ahead of him. Brandon's Omen, Sunfire already, of course already picked up a Negatron Cloak, and also the fact here at level 16 for Mimir, when he pops his ultimate due to his passive, he's gonna actually get 1440 gold worth of item just by his passive because he gets 40 armor and 40 magic resist, which is a Chain Vest and a Negatron Cloak. So Shyvana is gonna be a lot more tanky than Renekton.
And that may well come into play as they set up for the next dragon fight. 20 seconds time, we already see That burnout running from Mima. Zaza's getting a little bit of poke on him and he doesn't want it as the rest of Super Hot Crew rotate round. Maybe it's the mid turret they're going to go for. Death Sentence doesn't land. Vander gets that speed up there. Doesn't manage to get the flay on Impaler either.
Yeah, Hook was already down, so he just tried to flay here. Vander or Impaler though staying very far back, and both teams actually grouping here in the mid lane. Let's see if the wave clear from Super Hot Crew can do something, or they just want to try and set up a fight maybe from Rocket's side.
Overpower looking to go aggressive. He's trying to walk up there, trying to be that front man line. Instead, they're going to steal away the blue buff. Good fake out from Roccat.
And actually both teams don't have a clear hard engage here. You need either Evelyn to flank around from the side or Shyvana to do the same with the shockwave from Selfie, or you need Jankos to land his kick or land a hook from Vander to set something up. We don't have this like Leona or Vi just clicking on a target or setting something up instantly.
Selfie just goes around, realizes the blue buff is not there. That puts him way out of position if this fight were to play off, and he stood on the ward so they know exactly where he is. He's going to head down the bottom lane. They may try and collapse on towards Super Hot Crew here.
Decides to actually not show himself down here. He doesn't of course know there's a ward on him, so Roccat knows exactly where he is, but he didn't want to show because he was afraid of Roccat either moving down to gank him or just pushing up the wave while he was out of position.
Well, that's given Roccat full vision over this dragon, and this is going to be a dangerous fight for Super Hot Crew now. They're going in blind.
Going in blind here, but actually getting now very good ping ward here, clearing some vision from Rocket's side. They need to be careful though. Every time the kick lands from Jankos, he can go in and set something up. It is the engage from Roccat.
Maybe we're going to try and focus on Overpower, try and catch him off on the side. Good slow from Selfie there. Zaza's had something in mind, and I think he was going deep onto the team. It's this given vision for Roccat though. They're going to rotate around. They're taking this dragon with ease.
They should be able to get it down very, very fast. Impaler nearby, but not in smite range. Here's the fight though.
Goes in towards it. Not sure it's a fight he wants. He gets dragged into the choppers. Impaler completely locked up on his own. He goes down. Selfie gets dropped. Super Hot Crew are being absolutely obliterated by Roccat here. Mima going to try and get away. He's going to get locked down. The zap does not land. It doesn't matter. There's going to be the kick from Jankos, and it's a 3-for-0. And the dragon could run to Baron.
Could run to Baron here. Only AD carry and support to try and stop them. No smite, no tank. This should be a Baron for Roccat here. And they just used the better vision and the better position perfectly, because once Impaler went in, he actually went in alone to try and stay around, maybe even try and smite steal it. The rest of Super Hot Crew was staying too far back, so it's too easy for Roccat. Take a kill, go onto them, get onto Selfie here, and just blow him up.
And there's just so much crowd control that he walked in towards. He had no chance of ever getting out of that one. Selfie was imploded as well as that fight started off. So, big advantage gained by Roccat as they pick up that Baron, continuing to pick up the dragons and have themselves that turret advantage. Overpower continuing to stack out that tier, which by the way is currently just shy. 652 out of 750, so it's going to be complete around the 30-minute mark.
His Rod of Ages, however, is fully stacked now, so he's just waiting for this tier now to finish up, and he's really going to hit the power spike of Rise. And we've seen it in teamfights already, how much damage. We've also seen the lack of focus from Super Hot Crew. It's always been on a lot of mixed targets. You have the Shockwave going on to Salova and Vander, and then the rest of Super Hot Crew is jumping towards Overpower and Xaxus, so we see a lot of split damage, and Roccat has just been taking full advantage of it.
Yeah, so far we haven't seen the combo, the ball delivery system of Mima having that defensive ball on him and jumping into the team, but as you mentioned, Roccat have been staying fairly separate apart from that fight down the bottom, but that was simply Impaler running in on his own.
They've just been doing a very good job of always splitting out the carries. So you have Rise in one point and you have Selavar in a different one. They're not too far away from each other to help, but it makes it so the Shockwave from Selfie is never able to hit multiple carries from Roccat.
Well, Super Hot Crew, we're going to have to try and defend this one. We saw how back and forward it was in the previous game between Fnatic and Alliance, and Super Hot Crew would have been sat waiting for that game to end and simply sitting as spectators like we all are. Maybe they just learned something, maybe they figured out, okay, Fnatic sit and turtled that one out. Not quite as big a disadvantage that they've gone against Roccat though. And Roccat, they were famed for their 1-3-1 split before, seem to be going with 1 in the top, 4 in the mid.
Going a little bit of a mix here. They're actually keeping Overpower up top lane, but then keeping someone like Xaxus waiting for Super Hot Crew to rotate up, and then he can jump onto them, get some damage, get someone low, and then they can force objectives. But they're clearly respecting the wave clear from Super Hot Crew. That's why you don't see them group up as 5 instantly. Instead, they actually want to try and set up a dive here, maybe.
They're going to see if Impaler wants to face check that bush. Did not fancy it, so he put the ping ward down. It bought the rest of the team time to take down their 5th turret of the game and the 2nd inner turret. Now you're going to see the rest of Roccat rotate around the bottom while Overpower continues to push the top.
And as long as Overpower is just left alone, with his teleport ready, he can just farm, pick up everything, going actually towards the golems, come back to the lane here. He's gonna wait here for Mima to push out and then get a lot of damage onto him and hope Mima is expecting him to be recalled.
Instead, Mima is going to run across towards the bottom lane. The hook on Selfie, that's the end of him. And that's the end of the turret, no doubt about that one. Roccat, fantastic hook again from Vatner.
Great hook, getting them the kill now. They can push onto the base. Overpower up in the top lane. Nobody's there to defend. Only 4 members from Super Hard Crew. Either they have to go onto Roccat here, or they're going to give up turret and inhibitor.
I think they're going to lose them both. There's one going down. The top one's already half health. There's the inhibitor dropping down in seconds. The rest of Roccat are going to rotate round, just go around the back of this mid lane turret, and they're going to go straight in towards this one. They have the minion wave pushing in just a moment. They don't care. They're just going to tank it up.
And you can have as much wave there as you want, but if you get hooked, you're gonna die.
And Mima, you can see the tankiest member was just being played like ping pong by the rest of Roccat there as he gets bounced around the team. Roccat can push through and finish this game, surely.
Roccat was looking so dominant here, did everything correct in this game, got ahead in the team fights, and Super Crew didn't have anything they could actually respond with.
Mixer taking so much damage. The rockets will come through. There's the Get Excite. We're going to see Salavar putting damage back on towards the turret. Selfie's going to get imploded. They managed to take him down as well. Roccat have performed perfectly in this game, taking down the Super Hot Crew. They're 1-1 away from securing playoffs.
And Super Crew put so much focus onto these dragons. Roccat was there every single time to fight them with a stronger combo in the early mid game. And also, in general, stronger team fights as a team. So they just punished Super Hard Crew every single time they moved as a group and got ahead.
So, danger signs for Super Hard Crew. Relegation is, of course, looming, but it's the playoff spot they want. I think they've still got a shot. I'm not 100% on that. I think they've still got a shot, but that was not a loss they needed. Roccat, though, as you can see, very happy about that one. Just one more win away in Super Week from securing a playoff spot.
And they deserve it. I mean, they played so good this game. They played better than Super Crew in every aspect of the game, actually. Even laning phase wise, the tactic with Renekton, you can survive alone. Overpower the mid lane, you can survive alone. Jankos runs up to the top lane and just helps out the dual lane, get the farm they want, get to the team fights. There's already a Bloodthirst on Jinx. First team fight comes in, Roccat wins it, and from there on it was just one-way ticket.
So 14-11 now, I believe, for Roccat as they go into the next match. Good start for them, securing actually second place at the moment. I think they're tied. No, that won't, because there'll be 14-10 alliance will be sat at.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, win-loss percentages.